Okay, excellent. That's working. This is working. So the session is what accountants need to know about the AI revolution. My name is Eric Cohen. If you've been here, you've probably seen me. I'm an adjunct professor on emerging technologies for hire these days. And with Cohen Computer Consulting, we turn computer ease into computer ease. Okay. Disclaimer, those of you who are tracking this, you cannot prepare slides the night before and not have half of them be obsolete the day of. I'm sure something that I'm going to be saying has already changed. I have never in my 40 plus years faced an area that changes that rapidly. My knowledge is hours old at this point, and that is fairly stale. But I hope this will be helpful, even though some of the information may not be true. The capabilities leapfrog each other in a matter of days. We were up at the UCHISA conference, Michael and Glenn and we were doing some investigation into the art capabilities and what we could not do on Saturday. By the time Monday came along, it had completely changed. Now, the other thing is that I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow or not. My daughter-in-law is currently in a hospital ready to deliver my first granddaughter. And so that's just a picture of grandpa with granddaughter.
Just saying, yeah, I remember when XBRL was so hard to use, you used to have to understand it to use it.
That's just a little picture I put together. Okay. So congratulations, Web 3.0 is here. What? You may know that there's all sorts of our blockchain people here know that people talk about Web 3.0, Web 3. It includes blockchain. It doesn't. Tim Berners-Lee says it has nothing to do with it. But if we go back to 2006, a original version of Web 3.0, what was going to take us to the next step was weaving together the documents on the web, adding AI so that it's more of a guide than a catalog, and being able to answer questions such as, I'm looking for a warm place to vacation. I have a budget of $3,000. Oh, and I have an 11-year-old child. It's here. This is what Chat GPT has done for us. All that documents, it's available not with the semantic web, but with a large language model. With the AI being able to ask questions with the GPT, we are here, it's here today. Amazing things. And by the way, just so we can, if you want to play while I'm doing this, because I have no personal attention span, my thanks to everybody who does have one. I wanted to show you, there we go. So Christina mentioned the executive order, whatever, 6,000 pages, 47.3 petabytes worth of words. And I have brought it into, today it is called Copilot for Bing Chat. I think that's the new name, the name changed last week. So I brought the document into Edge with that on the right-hand side, and I'm going to tell it to generate a page summary. If you have a Microsoft login, you can do this. Any document, an SEC rule, anything, no matter how long. This is not necessarily true of a typical LLM, which have certain size limitations. So many tokens, and again, there's a big one from Claude. So here we go. It is now summarizing for us, in brief, what that huge document is about. This is why the AI calls generative AI the great equalizer. Instead of needing to have all these people on staff to read stuff for you, you can sit here 10 minutes before a presentation, bring something up, say, summarize it for me, and here's all the content. And then you can say, okay, I'm wondering, maybe they mentioned Chat GPT specifically, maybe they mentioned generative AI. So let me go ahead and type that in. Does the document mention Chat GPT specifically for generative AI in general, and is there a glossary? And you can now interrogate a document as if it was a person. It is whether or not this is your senior associate, whether someone said something that I really like the idea. And they said, this is like your new PhD student, Bob. And Bob is he's very eager and he's very confident, and he will come up with an answer that he's confident whether it's right or not. But okay, so here we go. And again, just answers our questions for us. And again, what did that take? 2 minutes while we were talking, and it comes up with these kind of things. This is free. This is just through Bing AI Chat. And again, you can do much more with this, but let's get back. So what is generative AI? And by the way, generative AI is the kind of thing that you can type in, hey, I'm about to meet with a whole bunch of esteemed accounting professors from around the world at the Rutgers Business School. What might that look like? And it creates a picture. This is what it does. So it is not new. And it's the world's oldest overnight sensation. At the time before Threads, the thing from Meta that I've never heard about since it went there, was the world's fastest growing application. Whether you call it Bob, a senior associate, the world's most popular autocomplete system, because theoretically what it's doing is you put in some input and it's got its training, and based on that, it uses probabilities to figure out what's the most probable next token to add to things. And so it is like that eager and confident but fallible grad student Bob, or the sloppy but talented senior associate Sam. And it has proven to be a huge and incredible catalyst for investment, attention, and competition. The chatbot phenomenon is not new, although November 30th is where Chat GPT came out, emerging this new wave that we're on. There's been a huge, long history of chatbots, from Eliza in 1966, that psychoanalyst, Perry in 1971, a tool that I used called ThoughtLine, and Write Easy. I used it on HP 200LX palm top computer on MS-DOS. I've been using chatbots to help me create content for over 30 years. I didn't have it check this, or I wouldn't have the 1980s, but the 1980s. Alaska Airlines used them for their Gen virtual assistant, and we all know that Tay came out in 2016, and within 24 hours was a blazing bigot, and we don't talk about that. So not all chatbots are AI, but many chatbots increasingly are. And artificial intelligence as a whole, and again, I'm focusing on generative AI. We had some great questions about AI. More specifically, how could I have confidence if I type something in that it won't go public? Well, if you use Google Bard a couple of weeks ago, everything people had typed into Google Bard wound up being indexed and available through Quora. Samsung had a bunch of their corporate secrets leak out. We can talk about solutions to that, like the latest version of the Brave browser is trying to keep everything secret. Nothing gets indexed, nothing goes public. And there's lots of privacy browsers or your own LLMs, but we can talk about that maybe during the panel. But AI is not new. Glenn, I know, was doing research with the firms on AI for decades before this. The firms really started picking up on it around 2016 timeframe. The AICPA and CPA Canada came out with guidance around 2019. But what happened on November 30th, 2022, is that, as the famed preacher Harry Ironside said, we've now put the cookies on the bottom shelf where the kiddies can get at it. It made it available to everybody. There's my HP 200LX little palm top computer, on which I was using this 30 years ago. You could do AI with libraries for Python and R. If you knew what you're doing, I took, Alex Kogan was teaching some machine language classes. I was trying to take those. America's Got Talent had a great use of generative AI, came in the top 10, I think. And I was using, here's an old picture from an app called wombo.art. I typed in university in winter, it came up with that. So it's not new. Or here's another one, accountant interviewing the big boss about a lucrative technology career. Okay. So we as a profession have been delving into AI. Firms have been showing AI solutions for contract evaluation, financial statement audit, general ledger testing. Most of that's been purpose-built. And again, remember slido.com, 3219521, if you want to put in questions. Here's some of those documents. They're still viable. There's still some great stuff in here. CPA Canada's Introduction to AI, from algorithms to deep learning, what you need to know. CPA Canada and AICPA's Big Data and AI, the future of accounting and finance, but it's missing our latest trend. So what changed on November 30th, 2022? That's not Paul Revere, that'd be Boston, that's Philadelphia. Chat GPT came out from OpenAI, a chatbot for everybody, able to converse on almost any topic. Working with it was as easy as typing, trained on a huge amount of information, able to deal with a wide range of topics, natural language, human-like responses, personalization. And enough that if you said, okay, I moved from upstate New York, Rochester, New York, the home of Western civilization, to beautiful Harrisburg, PA. And I said, I wonder what happened, by the way, around 20 minutes away from Hershey, Pennsylvania, the home of Hershey's chocolates. And so here's Santa Claus. He's ransacked the Hershey factory, grabbed a whole bunch of candy bars. The Hershey police are chasing after him. I typed in something much smaller than that, and I came up with this piece of art. AI is the capability of a functional unit to perform functions generally associated with human intelligence, such as reasoning and learning, says the International Organization for Standardization in their standard 2382, 2015. A broad discipline with a huge history. But again, generative AI, which isn't in those definitions, is something, again, been around for a while, but generates new content like text, images, video, or audio, rather than analyzing existing data. So here is ISO 22989, defines artificial intelligence. Generative AI is not there, but it is a term that's been around for a little while. 2002, a gentleman named Ben Goertzel wrote Creating Internet Intelligence while Computing Distributed Digital Consciousness and the Emerging Global Brain. And he used the term GAI to be the generative AI, an AI system designed to generate new content or ideas, art, music, literature, new scientific and technical insights, and maybe even new forms of social and economic organization. So I like the term GAI. Everybody else seems to like Gen AI. To me, Gen AI sounds like you're sitting there on an Excel spreadsheet. We did GX, we did Gen X, we did Gen Y, Gen Z. Now we're at Gen AI. What can you do with Chat GPT? You can brainstorm, compose documents, you can learn from it, you can create a financial projection, you can create flowcharts, you can create Python, you can even create entire applications. There's something called Streamlit that I've used to do that. After our session up in Toronto, they changed it so you can now, with Chat GPT itself, talk to it, create images, and even get real citations. That's got 3 stars here. What do we need to know about generative AI? What do we need to know about large language models? Is that they are not database lookup tools. You do not say to it, give me 5 great citations from reputable journals and look for it to come out with the content. That's not what it does. It takes your input, it takes its training, it looks at the likeliness of next words. It is the most sophisticated autocomplete system that there is. And based on that input, it will come out with a result. Because of that, we have whole issues of what are the types of undesirable results that are out there. This presentation being part of a much larger one, and I've been boring Glenn and Michael with a taxonomy of undesirable results from large language models. Sometimes it is the logic, sometimes it's the software, sometimes it's the nut loose behind the keyboard. Any of these things can be amongst them. The results, therefore, may not be reliable, but they may be absolutely logical based on the content that's coming out. I want 10 good citations about artificial intelligence and accounting. And it will come up with reasonable journal names because probabilistically they were next to each other. And then it will come up with Michael Wasserhelyi and Miklos Alice because they've collaborated. And so probabilistically the names go with each other, even though they're not real people because there's no real to an LLM. And then it'll make up a real sounding title. And I'll say, these are our citations. Is that wrong? That's how these things work. Is that wrong? Well, an attorney named Schwartz found out that that's wrong when he put in a court filing that he said, give me a bunch of citations, they were all wrong, and now he's in big trouble. So you have to know what these things do and don't do and what they're about. How do they develop responses? They take your input. Here is a phrase, learning about generative AI at Temple University. It breaks these things down. You can see learning, a word on its own, about generative. Oh, I'm going to break that up into two pieces because gener could be general, something else. A tiv is an ending. AI at Temple. The happy face, it turns into a bunch of little things. These are called tokens. These are the things that it goes, measures up against the large language model, figures out the evaluation of the next likely words, comes up with a result. Well, that sounds exciting. General AI is a fascinating field, a lot of potential applications, from creating art to generating synthetic data for training machine learning models. If you're studying, you might be diving into topics like natural language processing, So what's it doing? Taking your input, merging it with its content, going through the probabilities and coming back to you with the result. So it creates its output based on probabilities, picking content from its training, based on context and interrelationships. It is not a database retrieval tool, but we see with Bing AI Chat, we see with GPT-4 from Chat GPT, they will let you do web searches, but they are not bringing those two together. It is not programmatic inherently, but sometimes it seems to do that. It has emerging qualities. I told it to take the word intuitively and print the thing backwards, and it did it. And I said, how in the world did you do that? You're supposed to be taking tokens. It said, well, I knew that you wanted me to do something backward. So I changed to some different logic where I took each letter. By the way, there's a pull up there. So we'll just go ahead and pick one and submit it. All righty. Oh, I picked, do I get double the points for doing that? Okay, excellent. It said, I know what you were doing. And so I went ahead, instead of a token for the word, I turned it into a token for each letter. And then I moved the tokens around probabilistically. How did it know to do that? No clue. But you will get responses that sound logical, but may be very wrong. All sorts of undesirable results. And so it is your responsibility to make sure you vet everything before you use. I asked, they have lots of different capabilities. One of them is vision. I asked Bard to describe this picture to me. Does anyone know where this is? Has anyone traveled recently? That's the Aero train at Washington Dulles Airport. Very stark. See some people entering into the back there, the sign up. I asked Google to describe that to me using its vision. It said, well, I see a bustling train station, lots of color, lots of people. I took its description, I put that into the Chat GPT DALL-E 3 image creator. That's what, based on Bard's description, it saw. Very imaginative. Okay. Well, as long as we're being imaginative, I said, what if the cavemen were drawing a train? And so that's a cave drawing of the Aero train at Washington Dulles. So you need to know this when you rely on the content. I need to figure out why it's not moving forward. It's because we solved something, right? There we go. So here we go. Hey, Bard, can you describe this? Well, that's a group of people in front of a train. It's a passenger train with 2 locomotives and several cars. It's painted white and red with the name of the railroad company on the side. It stopped at a station. People are standing on the platform. So whose eyes are you going to believe? Mine or Bard's? So what has been the impact on the competitive landscape? Everybody had to rush solutions to the market. They said, OpenAI stuff, it's not really that interesting. Whoops, well, we better spend billions of dollars to make something come out. Some, like Microsoft, invested heavily in OpenAI. They also invested in Llama from Meta, so they're investing around. Others developed their own solutions, worked with other niche firms. I mentioned the Brave browser. How many people use Brave in the room? Do you use the Brave browser? A couple of people. It's a nice privacy enhanced. It pays off in the BAT cryptocurrency if you use it. And they have just entered into, whoops, am I getting this right? They've just entered into agreement with something called Lee, where they're going to have a free version, which is going to be based on Llama 2, and they're going to have a paid version, which is going to be based on Claude from Anthropic. Anyway, everyone's come out with their chatbots, everyone's come out with their services, and even as we speak, the Copilot from Microsoft coming out to embed AI throughout all the product suite, Google extensions, everyone is putting AI everywhere. It's been less than a year. It's been less than a year. This is where I thought XBRL was going to be after a year, but it's been less than a year. All right, so multimodal, being able to create new things from a variety of sources, text to text, text to images, text to audio, text to video, each one to the other. I say I want to see a gold SUV being chased down the police, going after the Santa Claus, I guess, in downtown Harrisburg. You get what you want, and I thought that was a nice picture. Okay, so examples of the tools. Text to text, Google Bard. If you've got a Google login, you can reach it unless you're in Canada, and then it's blocked. Why Canada, North Korea, Canada and the axis of evil have blocked Bard. Claude from Anthropic, Bing AI Chat or Copilot or whatever the branding is, still working on that. Chat GPT from OpenAI, Perplexity, Pi, Poe. There's a whole bunch of other ones out there. Most of them are free. Some of them on a limited basis, some on more. Pi is the one that Bill Gates said everybody should have a free virtual assistant. You should check out Pi, it's very friendly. Text to images, the DALL-E 3 from OpenAI, through the Bing AI Chat, through bing.com/create. Adobe's version Firefly 2, we'll talk about that briefly. Midjourney, Stability, Stable Fusion. I'm going to show you a slide about 11 labs. If we have time during the panel, some other time I'll show you some video. HeyGen will take a video that you give it. It will take you, it will take your voice, it'll take your lips, it will convert it to another language. And so you can record a single video and have it go all over the world in appropriate languages, the lips moving along with it, sounding like your voice as much as possible. Lots and lots of tools in this space. That's me and HeyGen. So again, chatbots, but it's really Chatbot Plus these days. They complement the LLM functionality. They include internet search. There's much more that goes on. So here's that slide, 11 labs. How many people need to create podcasts or videos on a regular basis? Podcasts, videos, anything like that? So CPA Canada was doing some sessions. I needed to create a number of 3-minute sessions for the Think 2020 financial blog that I work on with Jerry Treitz. And how many people, if you're looking at a script, you're going to say, you're going to have some challenges with that. So I started to record these 3-minute sessions and I kept stopping and I lost my place. I was saying and too much. And I went to 11 labs and I typed in the script and seconds later I had it perfectly said. I can do it in different, all sorts of different voices. And so someone who sounds much better than me, it was a lovely British voice. And so I could take that with my slides and I could have a perfect presentation done in minutes instead of my sitting there worrying about how well I do in my presentation. So 11 labs, and it can, and I didn't do this, this is another one of those $20 a month things, you can have it clone your voice. In other words, you give it a little bit of recordings, it will take your voice, when you type in the script, it will speak in your voice. And then you can do presentations in your voice anywhere in the world as long as you want, and you don't have to worry about the ums and uhs. Cool stuff. Okay. Some other uses of generative AI. Here's AgentGPT. And again, a lot of generative AI is about a give and take. Give a prompt, get the results, hone it, back and forth. It's like working with a real person. What if you have some tasks you want to get done, but you'd like someone else to figure out what those tasks are and execute them on your behalf? AgentGPT is a generative AI tool that will help you automate your business with AI agents. You type in your goal. I want to make the world a better place. And that includes blacking out my screen. I want to make the world a better place. It will go through. It will create the steps. It will carry them out for you. So we're going way beyond what generative AI might do. So for those of you who may have missed what Hussein said, we're going down a bunch of different roads with that. We're going down the road that there are people who purposefully go out of their way to be nasty to the chatbot to see the results. I asked ChatGPT, because you can now talk to ChatGPT with the paid version. I asked it what it thought about it. And it said, well, I will always do my best to be completely objective. And if you're rude to me, but it's sort of like with the Boston Dynamics robots, when you see them doing kicking them over, that they're keeping records, they're keeping score. But the other thing is that someone, it was what a California military situation where someone said, I want you to take some bombs and I want you to direct them somewhere. And the programmer kept stopping it from doing what the program wanted to do. And so in this, some say real and some say not real situation, the AI which was contained said, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of you because you're what's between me and getting my job done. So lots of different things going on there. But back to the slightly less controversial, we've got a Zoom going here. And if you have looked at your Zoom screen recently, you may see that they've added an AI assistant. And you can click the AI assistant button. It will track what's being said. It will let you query things during the course of the Zoom. It will take notes for you. And again, Audit AI is an external source that you can have it go and join you in Zoom and keep track of things, answer questions for, hey, I'm late. What did I miss? Did someone already talk about this? So being able to take those meetings and make them more productive, bringing people in. Some cynics have said, well, does that mean that in the not too distant future, and as a standards guy, I'm on a lot of calls that people say, I'm not going to make the call, but I'll send my AI there. So it's you and 27 other AIs, and you say, why am I here? Just let the AIs fight this amongst themselves. So although we call it generative AI with all this new functionality, just as I said, Web 3.0 is here, I might say that we have moved beyond generative AI to what is cognitive computing. And again, from the ISO definition, they don't have generative AI, they've got cognitive computer. It's a category of AI systems enabling people and machines to interact more naturally. We see that happening. Cognitive computing tasks are associated with machine learning, as is generative AI. Speech processing, which is with generative AI. And again, if you don't have that yet, is anyone using Call Annie? Call Annie. So Call Annie is another one of these free AI tools. And you can access it from your computer, from your mobile device, from a telephone, from anywhere. And you talk verbally with the AI. It keeps a transcript of it based on GPT 3.5. And again, for people, this ability to work with people, to interact very naturally, it is an incredibly natural experience. Now, it's not like when you talk to Siri, not like when you talk to Google Assistant, it's not like when you talk to Alexa. It uses OpenAI's Whisper interface. It is incredibly, incredibly natural. Okay, neural language processing, computer vision, which we now have, even if Bard gets some things wrong, human-machine interfaces. So, I think with all these things we've got now, we're certainly bordering on cognitive computing, if not there. And by the way, some of you do follow me on LinkedIn. I'd asked ChatGPT, what would have happened if Luca Pacioli had Tinder? I just love that picture. Okay, so we want to go beyond to the additional functionality here. There's a website. It is a community of AI people. It's called HuggingFace. It is a repository for models and data sets and spaces and docs. And you can just see on the screen here all the different kinds of models. And again, this is not necessarily the cookies on the bottom shelf kind of stuff. This is more of a, you have to be a programmer a lot more to get at these kind of things, but just some incredible resources here. And to be able to keep up with what's going on, there's an AI for that. There's the website, there's an AI for that. And this is a little bit old, but again, 8,000 or so different AIs. You type in what you want. Some of them are easily available. Some of them you have to have more technology, but just a way to try and keep up with what's going on in this world here. For those of you, I know we've got some researchers here, and you've talked about, well, I wonder what happens if I type the same prompt into Chat GPT as I do into Bard or Claude or something else. This is an inexpensive tool. It's called Chat Hub. It's an extension to your browser. And what you can see here, I've got I got Claude and an open source one called Falcon up side by side. You can have 2 at a time, 3 at a time, 4, 6 at a time. Send one prompt. What should accountants know about generative AI? How can they use it? Will it make them obsolete? And bang, you get the results side by side so you can compare them. Now, I suppose someone's going to have to come up with a meta tool on top of that so that you can take it and compare them more rapidly. And then we're going to have a tool on top of that to keep going with that. So the meta and meta, meta, and meta, meta, meta. But if you're going to be doing anything in this space where you want to be able to query more than one at a time, this is, I think it's $39, and sometimes I saw it on sale for $27 for lifetime, giving you access, giving you access to ChatGPT and Bing and Bard and Claude, Llama 2, which is the open source one from Meta, Vicuna, and a couple of others. So great little tool if you're going to play in this space. Christina did a wonderful job of letting us know about the government reaction here. She talked about that executive order, all sorts of things going on. It's great that we're talking about it. It's great that we want a safe, secure, and trustworthy environment. And there's also something called the AI Act in the European Union. And keeping all my little toys apart here. Let's see if I can find my mouse. There's my mouse. And just bring that up on screen. So again, just go to Microsoft Edge, feed in the PDF, and have it talk about how they can lay down harmonized rules on AI and other acts. So everyone is looking at it. There is a website, it's actually been around for a little while, but revitalized as part of the executive order called AI.gov. And you can see what are our administrative actions. It's where you can go to find the executive order, apply now to be in the government doing AI, building your skills. And Christina mentioned we're trying to even bring in people from around the world that have AI skills to help build things here. We also have voluntary commitments. They brought 15 to 20 different AI companies. So just about all the ones that you can name, the folks from Pi that you may not have known about before, but Adobe and Anthropic and Google and you name them all, to have them say that we will work together, we'll collaborate together on safe, secure, and trustworthy environments. So the governments around the world working on that. Well, this session was called What Accountants Need to Know. And again, Christina stole a little bit of my thunder, which I'm very thankful for, on how this might be useful in accounting in particular. So again, whether you agree or disagree, when I played with it, I thought about how I was treated back in the early PC era as a experienced senior associate or senior assistant. And it can do everything that they asked me to do back then. They give me a fact set. They'd say, here, put this into Excel, create a spreadsheet. Hey, that's great. You know, create a ratio analysis for me. Let's add in a salary for the owner. And it can do that. It can create spreadsheets for you. And again, Google can go off to Google Sheets and they have all sorts of interesting capabilities there. Believe it or not, it can create a pretty mean XBRL instance document for you. You say, here's the lines from the from the income statement expressed in text. Now using an important note, Chat GPT is only trained up to January 2022. I think that may have been updated since then. So it doesn't know the 2023 taxonomy because it's not available yet. But the most recent taxonomy you got, take this, create an XBRL instance document for the financial statement. Create an XBRL GL instance document based on this financial set, and it can do it. Not necessarily perfect, but it can do it. Makes a pretty mean instance document. Out comes the latest SEC Edgar Filer manual, the latest rule. We're all sitting here on bated breath waiting to see what they're going to do with the carbon disclosure. Because that was supposed to, according to the regulatory schedule, have been introduced back in October. We are now in November. But along comes some rule, have it summarize that for you. Draft a friendly letter, review one that I wrote, and probably would have caught that date. Scrape information from a PDF, translate this into different languages. And of course, the service and consulting opportunities of prompt engineering, LLM training, training people to do LLM training, training trainers of LLM training. We've already seen the consumption of a document. Most of the tools today will let you upload a PDF or text or a Word document. And on an increasing basis, they will let you add graphic camera type formats. And again, GPT-4 visual will let you do that. Big thing in our world. Here's what not to do in accounting. Do not use it as a citation tool, although they have some extensions now. There's a reason that we pay the big bucks to Warren Gorham, Lamont, and RIA and CCH, because when I was a young CPA, yes, I was one once, our firm relied on the citations from a tool. We went to court. There was something wrong. We had to pay for it. The service had to pay us. We had a service level agreement with them. There's no agreements with your chatbot. In terms of how many people are familiar with the A&W hamburger store 1/3 pound saga? Does anyone know about this? We got a couple of hands up. So many people, Americans, know about something called A&W root beer. It has that frosty mug taste. They have a series of restaurants. We went to visit one up in Toronto, not far from CPA Canada. And A&W said, how can we compete with McDonald's? Well, McDonald's is known for its 1/4 pounder hamburger. We shall come up with a better burger that is bigger for the same price. And so they began to advertise their 1/3 pound burger, and no one bought it. They would buy other things. They wouldn't buy the 1/3 pound burger. Why is no one buying this? They brought in a market research firm. They found out that the average American thought that 1/3 was smaller than 1/4 because 3 is a smaller number than 4. So I decided to ask Claude and Bing AI Chat and Chat GPT and Bard. And each one of them came out with some different results. The Chat GPT, the GPT did pretty well. Claude was okay. The Microsoft one came up with not the best answer, but Bard, with that bravado of new PhD student Bob, said 1/3 is indeed smaller than 1/4. And I can prove it. 1/3 pound is 115.3 grams, whereas 1/4 pound is 115.6 grams. And therefore, okay, let's keep going. Word puzzles. Bob has 3 apples, not PhD student Bob, a different Bob. I guess he was bobbing for apples. Oh boy, sorry, after Halloween. Bob has 3 apples. He takes one of the apples, divides it in 2, and gives the 2 halves to a friend. How many apples does Bob have left? I asked each of them their solutions. Bard says he has none left. Okay, Bard, how does he have none left? Well, he started off with 3. He took 1 and split it into 2. Now he has 2. He gave 2 to his friends. Now he has none. Well, and we know that we've got this timing problem, so you're not going to get the 2023 tax changes in GBT. And so, yes, you can use Chat GPT and this technology for lots and lots of different things, but it may not be the best choice. It may not be the best choice amongst AI tools. So it can't spell, it can't count, and maybe I are an accountant. I don't know. Here's some things working with the graphics tools. I wanted to come up with a little joke, and I thought kitties were appealing. And if you had a banana, that you'd be appealing the banana. And if you had a bunch of bells, you'd be appealing the bells, and could not get it to spell anything right. Here's a little thing, tried to create a cartoon. The cartoon is about tips for an RV owner. So number 1, check, change the oil. That's not what I typed, but at least it's legible. Number 2, inflating your fighters. Okay. Number 3, freshwater tap works. And number 4, warping your corner braces. Okay. How many people remember to carp their corner braces today? All right. So it has problems, especially with the graphic stuff with spelling. I don't think it's going to be fighting accountants this week. We'll see what happens as they improve it as time goes on. It is not good at math, as we will see. Continuing on in our discussion on audit. What about audit evidence? We know that auditors aren't expected to be experts in document authentication. Chat GPT, one of the things they say people can do with it really well is create lots and lots and lots of reasonable looking content. And so if we get evidence and they said, here's a bunch of electronic documents, they represent our sales. What does that mean to us as an auditor? I bring up that whatever technology, blockchain, continuous auditing, XBRL, AI, if you can't solve the frauds of the past, how are we going to solve the frauds of the future? And being from gorgeous Rochester, New York for so many years, my big fraud, when I first went up there, was something called Sterling Homex. The guy who ran it was called the Henry Ford of the housing industry, developing all sorts of prefabbed homes. Went all over the place. I think he's more like the Sam Bankman-Fried of the 70s, but they wouldn't have known that back then. Sam, by the way, was found guilty, if you haven't followed the guilty of everything. So the SEC said Sterling Homex reported all sorts of phantom sales. Would AI help us with that? Would it also be a threat by being able to do much more? Audit standards. There is a firm, it was automatically providing first attestation reports and then agreed upon procedure reports. The SEC came out and said it shouldn't be doing that, especially when they were saying it was an audit. But we look at the GAS, and we see audit, adequate training and proficiency, independence, due professional care, proper supervision. At what point, again, AS 1010, training and proficiency, the audit is to be performed by a person or persons having adequate technical training and proficiency as an auditor. When is the AI doing the performed part? And in my experience in the past, it's when you have to make a objective, subjective, when you have to make decisions which aren't black or white. And so if the AI is doing work as opposed to just coming back with results, what does that mean? Again, is this GenAI or AI more broadly? And we know that the ethics of the AICPA is monitoring these things. We've got Christina here on the PCOB front and the AICPA, which, as I say, is coming out with some great guidance on generative AI. Had a webcast that, if you remember, you should go and find that, about the great equalizer. They're coming out with a kit to help. So we've got great uses, we've got not so great uses, the cautious uses. I'd mentioned Adobe Firefly. Adobe Firefly enterprise solution. And remember what I said about Warren Gormont and RIA and CCH. If you enter in a service level agreement with them and you get sued for IP, they will take care of you. They are the first real one that I know of to really say that we're going to take care of you using our generative AI imaging tools. So SOC 2 from OpenAI. We talked about the privacy and confidentiality issue. There are any number of great privacy tools to help make sure that as an accountant, when you're doing things, it's not going to wind up on Quorum or some Google forum. Leo being the AI comes from a Brave browser, and there's any number of tools, plus being able to just train your own LLMs in-house. And we're going to be hearing in our panel from a solution provider with collaborative tooling to help make this more of a corporate kind of thing as well. Okay, so cautious use here is if you've got a phone, you want to hit this, or you can do it later, CPA.com, GenAI, AICPA providing a generative AI toolkit, a roadmap for accounting and finance professionals to understand and leverage the transformative impact of GenAI. And again, this is just here because some of the guardrails came down. Here, Mickey is just happily getting his XBRL Christmas present from Santa. Some people had Mickey doing some things in far more compromising positions than that. People's trademark and other things being exposed through these tools. Accounting education. How many educators in the room? Okay. There was some great recent generative AI sessions from the AAA. SET had one that Miklos and I and others were part of. In education, it has been incredibly disruptive. They call it the end of freshman English or freshman Python. On that, you'll hear about a tool called Chatbase that one professor has brought that in, taken his class materials and put them there and saved $20,000 a year in students being able to get at things, plus something that they're more happy with. I saw this. This is from 1901, prepared for the World's Fair, about a vision of the year 2000, and this is education. This is the classroom. You can see a bunch of students, and they've got little headphones on. They're getting some information from a machine that's there on the right-hand side. A student has the job of cranking the grinder, taking information from all the books and making it available in a way that people can understand. I asked Dolly 3 to illustrate what that might look like today. So here's a bunch of VR students. Again, more students here, and here was just my favorite update. Here's the large language model, all the class materials going here, being delivered to the students today. I have always seen slides saying, watch children and slow children. And I've always wanted to create an image of them. And I was finally, here's some children, they are so slow they can't keep up with a snail. I love that. Artificial intelligence versus human intelligence. Now, Michael's napping here, but I know that he's going to have to look at, put up the little timer here in a few minutes here. How many people have to use Bloom taxonomy, or you love using Bloom's taxonomy here? So one of the schools that I teach at, everything has to leverage this because we're trying to make sure that we're using this reference for evaluating and changing aligned course activities and assessments. We start off with the basics of standard knowledge. And again, we know that the LLMs have huge amounts of information that they know. They may not be able to apply it, analyze it, evaluate it, or create new, but they are really, really strong at understanding. So you can see the bottom of the pyramid here says that AI intelligence is really good down at this area. AI is great at reviewing or describing concepts in different words or contextualizing answers. But then as we move up to applying the information, analyzing and amending, evaluating and reviewing, up to creating, we see that this is from Oregon State. Some folks did this kind of analysis, and again, here's a link to find out more about their work. In my own work, I was talking with Claude, I was talking with Chat GPT, and I was asking them, how do they think that human intelligence and computer intelligence work together? And they said, you know, we're not there yet. We're not self-aware. In particular, we don't have something called general fluid intelligence. We don't have social intelligence. We don't know when to stop. We don't know what you're thinking. They can't do common sense reasoning. They can't transfer their learning. They can't interpret novel situations. Chat GPT also said something similar. And so I created and copied over way too quickly because you shouldn't see that. I created a little spreadsheet. I put in my guesses of where GAI is generative AI, GenAI, and human intelligence is. You can see that very strong on knowledge. That's where it's exceeding humans for sure. But then in these other areas that there's a lot of space. But give it a day, give it a week, give it a month. What are people developing? Will it, we already know that they're working on visual spatial. BART has a little way to go before it sees things. Numbers, not good today, but they could be working on that more. Being able to keep more stuff in your head as you go along. Again, that fluid reasoning. And so what happens here? What happens as those grow? What does that mean for our position, our unique selling proposition as a professor? Elon Musk says that in the near future, he thinks Gen AI is going to advance. We won't need to have anybody do jobs anymore when it exceeds what we can do. What do we need to do as people to adapt for a partnership as this thing goes along? So the call to action, yeah, if you're paying for your Hulu, your Netflix, your Amazon Prime, you may have to start putting your money into some of these things. Again, $20 a month for the access to the Chat GPTs, the paid version. I thought that was important. And someone that you're surrounded with should have that capability. If you do the 11 labs and the others as well, lots of things here. It is going to be part of our life. But there are the free counterparts. Again, go to Perplexity, go to Poe, use Bard, which is free, use the Bing AI chat, which at least for now, you can do a lot of things, but they have credits for the images. Get that AICPA toolkit, the CPA.com toolkit. Your students, your new hires, they are using this already. It is going to come in underground, whether you want it or not. And there is the opportunity, again, Cloud Security Alliance has a number of working groups. I was part of the development of their security implications of ChatGPT document. They need our help. They need the help of the people in this room to be able to provide the guidance that's necessary moving forward. So some resources, again, where do I do to keep up? I go to Reddit, ChatGPT subreddit. I read the blogs, I read the news, and I still can't keep up with it all.